couldn't do it. The Torah portion, Kitavo, begins with instructions for Moses to the children of Israel about what they are to do when they arrive in their new land. They are told to take the first fruits of the soil to the priests as an offering of thanks and to acknowledge that they've entered the land that God promised to their fathers. They are also told to set apart a tenth of their crops for the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and to affirm that they will observe God's laws. Moses gives them the special prayer that we just heard to recite upon delivering the first fruits, which begins, "A wandering Aramean was my father," and continues with a version of the story of Exodus, including, "He has brought us to this place and has given us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey." I read that as a reminder that we did not arrive at the entrance to the land of Israel on our own, but as a gift from God. Moses also reminds the people that they are to observe all of God's commandments and that God in return will make them his holy people. They are told to inscribe God's teachings onto plaster-covered stones as soon as they cross the Jordan River into the land of Israel, and then they are given a set of commandments in the form of curses which denounce negative behavior. What follows is a warning, a lengthy recitation of blessings and curses which come from observing all of God's commandments or not. If we remember the context in which this was written, it was a time when learning was oral and a memorable message required a strong presentation. But even still, the blessings are magnificent and the curses are the stuff of nightmares. Just as an example, as far as the blessings go, the Lord will cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thee. They shall come out against thee one way and shall flee before thee 7 ways. The Lord will command the blessing with thee in thy barns, in all that thou puttest thy hand into, and he will bless thee in thy land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord will establish thee for a holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways. But the curses, I'm going to read you 3 verses of the curses. Just keep in mind that there are over 50 verses of the curses. The Lord will bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth as the vulture swoopeth down, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance that shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy ground until thou be destroyed. That also shall not leave thee corn, wine, or oil, the increase of thy kind, or the young of thy flock, until he has caused thee to perish. And it gets much more graphic from there. For my great-grandfather, it was an accepted concept that blessings came from strict adherence to God's laws, and curses were punishments for disobeying. Certain behavior was expected, and other things just were not done. There was no gray area in between. Jews did this, they did not do that. Many of us have moved away from a life bound tightly to unbending ritual. This may mean that when we study Torah, we understand its meaning in the context of our integrated society and modern sensibilities. Yet in the end, whether we follow the text literally or not, we search for guidance there. The Torah is still our path. But a summer of studying this parsha, reading and rereading those curses, left me with uncomfortable questions. Why did bad things happen to good people? Why did God bring us safely out of Egypt, but not Hitler's Europe? How can we ignore that many of the worst horrors described in the curses seem to tell the story of what happened to Jews in the Shoah, and at other times in our history as well? I turned to the writings of those who experienced the Shoah firsthand for a different perspective. And here I found, if not an answer, a lesson. Elie Wiesel was deported with his family to Auschwitz in 1944. In his book, Night, he writes autobiographically about a 16-year-old boy in the camps. Wiesel tells a story of endless suffering. He is a man with every excuse for nihilism, rejection of traditional values, institutions, and beliefs as meaningless. Yet he retained his connection to God and humanity. In a Passover Haggadah called The Open Door, Wiesel is quoted saying, "Dayenu is the song of our gratitude. A Jew defines himself by his capacity for gratitude. A Jewish philosopher was once asked, what is the opposite of nihilism? And he said, Dayenu, the ability to be thankful." At a speech at the White House in 1999, Wiesel said, "Gratitude is a word that I cherish. Gratitude is what defines the humanity of the human being." Anne Frank wrote in her diaries in 1944, after years of hiding with her family in an attic in Amsterdam, trying to avoid deportation, how wonderful it is that no one has to wait, but can start right now to gradually change the world. How wonderful it is that everyone, great and small, can immediately help bring about justice by giving of themselves. With his focus on gratitude, Wiesel is turning toward the blessings, not the curses. Anne Frank is focusing on what we can do to solve our collective problems, not the problems themselves. So the answer to the questions that puzzled me all summer was that I was asking the wrong questions. Whatever our past, the future is about our choices and our responsibilities. The children of the wandering Arameans stopped to review the lessons of their journey at the threshold of the Promised Land and saw God's gifts and his guidance to choose a life of blessings. In the month of Elul, we do the same with our journey through the past year, and we can see the sacred all around us and opportunities to heal the world.
Ashir Koach.
Wait a minute.